From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of Israelites journeyed by stages as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people, and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink." Moses did so in sight of the elders of Israel. He called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?"
This particular scripture takes place in the wandering during the Exodus. And this, I like this thought of this commentary. It says, the wilderness through which Israel travels comes to be a metaphor for a zone of life not properly ordered and without the usual reliable life support systems. So we have this wilderness time now, and then when Israel is kicked out of the Holy Land, we have this same type of thought that could be a good parallel for now we're in exile again, and how do we rely upon God again when we're outside and we're away from the temple again? Will someone read just verse 1?
In the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages, as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink.
What I found really interesting about that first paragraph was that as the Lord commanded, right? They were saying the Israelites journeyed by stages as the Lord commanded. So the Lord has been saying, do this, and then they get to a place, we're doing what the Lord said, and there's no water.
But they say, why give us water to drink? I see behind you all those barrels of water. Why aren't you giving them to us? It's not that. There's just no water.
There is no water. So the people are saying to themselves...
But I get that. Why ask me? I don't have any to give you, right?
And I get that. And then again, people are like, yeah, but you're the dude with the stick that eats the snakes. Yeah. And you're the dude who is leading us.
Well, and back if you go to 15, he had they were in a place where there was bitter water, and people grumbled against Moses, and Moses threw a piece of wood in it, and the water became sweet. Again, so he's fixed it before in their eyes.
Yeah, and you're the guy who communicates with the big guy.
You're the relay man.
You're.
And they're missing part of they're blaming Moses. Thinking that he could just do it on his own, and not that Moses is relying on God for the people.
My notes actually say that this is a reminder that we should pray to God. We shouldn't blame someone else for the problems. They're blaming Moses, but really it's God has led them here.
But also in their defense, it's human nature. You've got Moses, who is physically there, acting as their leader. Easy to blame him. Versus...
And it's a challenge of leadership, right?
God that you can't see.
If you were one of the Israelites, do you think when you're complaining to Moses about where's the water, do you think you're genuinely challenging God? Would you have thought that?
It's kind of human nature, though. Just as Andy was saying, this is a nasty place already, but now you've got to see an even a worse nasty place of there's no water, there's no food. This is just a really bad place, It just goes to show you have a bunch of people who are, been wandering around, and now you're putting them in an even worse place, and it just goes back to human nature of, this is really bad. Why?
They're doing it every day, thinking tomorrow we're gonna turn that corner. It's gonna be right there. It's gonna be right over the next dune. It's not. But they don't know that.
I get the deliverance. It's good to be delivered, but if the deliverance is everyone's going to die in the desert, is that a good deliverance, right? And I struggle with this of, people are testing the Lord perhaps they should have been praying for water, but I think that in their mind they were trying to go to Moses. But Moses on his own can't do anything, right? If God needs to bolster Moses' position as a leader, and also the fact that Moses is invoking God's power, what better way to do that than say, take the staff. The staff is in your hand. And by the way, you're not going to do this without witnesses. You're going to go grab who?
The elders.
The elders of Israel. So the elders of Israel are going to see what happens. And yes, God does act to save the people, but the problem for the people in this case was sort of the doubting of God's involvement, right?
I mean, Moses didn't intend this, but I'm sure God let him flounder a little bit because he didn't want the people thinking Moses is their answer. They don't need to be looking to Moses for answers. They look to God. And when they turned to Moses, their leader, and he kind of like goes, I don't know. This is a sign, though, that should have told him, it's not him. He's got the staff. He's talking for God.
If you think literally that this happened in Sinai to God's people, that then is something that informs how you read the rest of the Old Testament. If you read this as a story of how God's people are being told to interact with God, it colors how you react to it. For my part, I think that this is a story of how God actually did interact with people of Israel.
Well, I think either way, you know that they survived the Exodus.
You know
that the Jews made it to Israel.
We know
so they probably needed some help to get there in this desolate place, right?
I mean, when the people had no water, that was a major deal. So, of course, they should have gone to God and prayed first instead of complained. But I think of like our lives today, it's, we have a lot of little things that we need to go to God first instead of complaining. It's very easy just to complain and gripe and something's not going right, but it just makes me think of we need to extend that to not just the big things, but also the everyday little issues.
At least for me, you'll feel like you're going through the motions, or I'm going through the motions, and where is God in this? And then the question is, have I asked God to be present with it? Have I even asked God to be present with me in this task? Prayer is a regular part of my life. I don't know that I've asked God to be present with me in that task. And then am I acting? More importantly is, do I act as if God were present with me in that task?
Mine is just say we should make a determined effort to pray when we feel like complaining, because complaining only raises our level of stress. Prayer quiets our thoughts and emotions and prepares us to listen.